Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the weeds of Churchill County. So that's Cochia, variant of Cochia. This is still early, so this is July. This stuff will get particularly bad in a couple more months. I'm hoping we get through some of the sunchoke. I actually passed some right before I started filming. This is all part of the area that is farmable. So we're going right here. Just it's a canal. There's canals everywhere. And then we get into the edges of the fields. All that light sage-colored stuff is called Russian olive. And here, this is all just easement land. Okay? And it becomes a fire hazard in about another month and a half. Alright? Bulrushes and cattails, Cochia on the side of the road, and tumbleweed. We have a lot of tumbleweed out here as well. The Cochia is still shorter. The tumbleweed is the darker green stuff that's higher. Those flowers, that is sunchoke. Sunchoke's actually very edible. You can actually use that as a human crop. You could go gather it, forage it, but we don't do that. All this stuff on the edges of the fields. These are hay fields. Some people rotate between alfalfa and corn, but for the most part, just hay. Tumbleweed and Cochia and grass. A lot of this is just grass. Some of it's timothy. Some of it's wild alfalfa at this point. All of that right there. There's a taller weed that you'll see once in a while, which is the monarch butterfly habitat. Okay. It's we have a lot of that in our orchard, and the funny thing is the pigs don't eat it. Okay. Goats don't eat it either. It's actually toxic to goats. So you won't see the animals eating it, which is cool because you can let it go and the monarchs grow and then it all comes down in the winter. It's pretty cool. Environments are complicated, but they work all by themselves if you let them. I'm going to pull over here in a little bit and talk to you a little bit more about how you would do this. This is 1/100th of 1% of what we've got out here. And yeah, you have shoulders on the road which are overgrown and there's management issues with that, but this is all areas, more sunchoke, where you could be growing actual healthy pig and goat meat, much healthier than any factory farming you're ever going to find. A little gamier tasting, but that goes with making your meat into game, which is healthier. All of that here. Let's pull over for a minute. Over at the truck park. Nice and slow. I don't really have a good spot to park here. I'm not in the truck, I'm in the car, which is a little more complicated to get in and out. Here's a little irrigation head. We'll hang out for a moment. So that's what you're looking at. You can easily manage some of this weed problem with livestock. This area has been sprayed. Right here where we're sitting has been sprayed a lot. You can tell because there's a lot of dead material that didn't regrow. They sprayed it heavy last winter, whoever owns the area around here. You don't own the actual irrigation gate or anything. It's all easement. It's all TCID land, but farmers take care of their own stuff. And whoever's here, whoever's at this dairy, really hammered on the weeds because they didn't want to have to wade through all this stuff to do their irrigation this year, and that's the after effects. I just really don't see how running animals is a negative on this, okay? You do have to restructure how you manage your canals a little bit, and that's the thing, you know, but when you're not running, so let's see if I can give you a little boost in there. Excuse the shaky cam. But you see the bottom of the ditch, there's a lot of green. Well, that green is all weeds that spring up because you run water through the ditch. The ditches aren't concrete. And then when you're done, weeds grow. If you had goats down in there, they would provide weed control. And that's actually a huge, you would not believe the amount of effort people put into trying to keep their ditches clean. It's quite a task. And animals will do it for free if you have the fencing infrastructure, mobile fencing infrastructure. So, there you go. This is just a short video. Let's drive a little more. I hope you can hear this. I hope I get to publish this because it's a little complicated having to deal with the sound effects. I don't do audio editing. I hate audio editing. I hate everything about audio. Open Nevada now. You can tell when I'm filming this. All of this is edible, all of this is manageable, and one of the things that people think is that you're going to destroy this by running grazing animals, and the thing is you really won't. What you'll do is you'll keep it from getting overgrown, and you'll keep some of the invasive weeds from spreading dramatically, especially stuff like the tumbleweed and the cochea. It's not going to spread as rapidly because it does get eaten, but you have to eat it in the cycles. You have to get the animals out there. They're not going to destroy this. They're actually going to make the soil more fertile, which means that more desirable species will grow if you seed them. There's nothing actually complicated about this. The most complicated aspects are legal, and the most difficult aspects are handling the fencing and the labor component. Because I'm not going to lie, dealing with the interface of the shoulder and the road is a little bit complicated, okay? Animals will adapt to the point where they're not scared of trucks or cars driving by on the other side of the fence. That's not a problem. It takes a few weeks, but they will adapt. The problem technologically is going to be, figuring out the interfaces, how to set up the fence, which ways to set up the fence so that it's easily movable but sturdy. And this is all stuff that can be done relatively easily. I'm just trying to list every possible negative challenge involved. And the stuff that really comes to mind is figuring out who owns what in terms of feed, animals, whatever. Do you subsidize farmers, herdsmen, to do this? And my answer is basically yes. You get it somehow to a point where there's a profit, a reasonable profit, and a reasonable flow of work. Use this as a civil service program, and that's fine. As a jobs program, that's fine. You have to allow the people who own the livestock to own the livestock. If the government owns the livestock, it's not going to work. And I can guarantee you that, just nature of government. But the complicated part is going to be the people and the structure. Like the legal structure and then the people getting the labor. I've looked at this with trees off and on in the past. You take spaces like where we're driving right now, there's a lot of edge of field stuff where you could plant a double or triple row of fruiting trees, and it would provide a huge amount of management for the edges. Trees actually cut down on weeds to a certain extent. It's a nature of the beast. Just ecology again. They also provide fruit or lumber. Depends on what you're harvesting the trees for, what kind you're growing. Quick turn here. This is one of the big canals. And I looked at the numbers on the trees, and planting trees is expensive. And not owning the land that your trees are planted on is really legally complicated, okay? Trees are a huge investment, but there's a huge value to that investment later on. And I looked at the numbers, and it looks like something that would be possible to do effectively with a corporation if you had the backing. But it's not very simple, you know. I've done some research on this, and this is an area where I really think that you do help to have some sort of social government, NGO, charity, church, nonprofit, I don't care what it is, some sort of large organizational structure, because this ain't easy. However, just looking at these couple miles of road that we're driving down, I think I've demonstrated to you that there's a lot out here. There's amaranth, that brown stuff that you're seeing in the sides as we get down here is called amaranth, and it's actually a harvestable grain. Well, grain analog. So, look at it. There is an absolutely amazing amount of resource utilization that could be done out here. And this goes everywhere. I drive around the country and I look at this, and it's something I pay attention to now because I've paid so much attention for so long. All of this is usable resource. And that thing is that it's not usable in the use it up sense. It's usable in the sustainable sense. All of this is sustainable. Anyway, another video down. More nature to look at. More Earth to terraform. Stay sideways. Have a good one.